What's up, YouTube? Special shout out to the subscribers here on the channel, especially the new subscribers we've picked up in the past week or two. Welcome back to another weekly video where I'm here to talk through all the training that I'm doing to get ready for Ironman Texas coming up in just 4 weeks. We are way beyond the halfway point. We are deep into the peak phase of training, and I honestly think that reflecting on the last week of training, it might have been the hardest week yet. I'll definitely dive into that a little bit more when we go over how all the training went last week. We'll also take a look at how the week of training ahead looks like, and that'll be the video. Keeping these going, just 4 more weeks until race day. All right, so the reason why, first of all, I think last week was one of the most challenging weeks because of the level of fatigue that I carried into it. 2 weeks ago, I did my first race rehearsal, which was an 80-mile bike ride and then a 10K run. Then the next weekend, I had another huge training day on Sunday. Ended up doing an hour of riding in the morning before the sun came up, and then did about 5 hours of riding on the road. It all ended up being around 6 hours of cycling, about 115 combined miles of riding, and then I ran another 10K off of that monster bike ride, and that all really went well. However, getting through all that training, felt great, but the next week, this past week of training, I really think I was having some trouble sort of recovering from that, like getting back to feeling fresh. And I didn't really have any workouts this whole week that felt like normal or like I was fresh or fully recovered for. So starting out with the swim on Monday, very familiar workout. It's these pace change 125s. I'm used to doing these somewhere around the 2-minute mark per 125. I was really struggling to hit 210 and then even 215, 220 by the end of the workout. Now, I had just done this huge 100+ mile ride the day before. I had that in the back of my mind, and despite feeling really just slow and sort of weak in the pool, I didn't really get too bothered by it because I felt really good about accomplishing the huge day of training the day before. And I'm like, of course I'm going to be a little tired today. So I didn't think too much of it. I was expecting to be tired in the water. Ended up having to cut that swim a little bit short too. Like it felt hard. Got 2,650 yards done. Certainly better than nothing though. Did a nice little 2-mile ride around the neighborhood with my son, just cruising around. Then went to yoga. Moving on to Tuesday's 2-hour easy ride. I really suffered on my last easy ride the previous Tuesday. And I went into this one just sort of optimistic that I needed to do better than last time, hopefully feel better than last time. I was able to average about 194 watts, which is in my zone 2. My heart rate was nice and under control, but the fatigue had sort of stuck around. I was tired on the swim on Monday. I was really tired on this bike ride as well. It wasn't quite as difficult as the 2-hour ride last week, but just kind of not feeling peppy. Hard to keep my cadence up too. I think my cadence was probably I don't know if I can see my cycling cadence here. 86, so usually I shoot for around 90. That being said, on Wednesday I had a pretty challenging run to do. It was 4x1 mile at half marathon pace, which for me is right around 7 minutes per mile. This was a pretty tough run because my legs were feeling really tired still. Like the entire run, especially during those intervals where I was pushing, those paces, those 7-minute paces, my legs just felt like it was almost like they had extra blood in them or something. Like it was just kind of sloshy and just heavy. It usually when I'm running these half marathon efforts, I feel like I'm sort of comfortably uncomfortable. Like I could go faster, but I'm pushing pretty hard. Today, or rather on Wednesday, that run, that pace, it felt like I really couldn't even go much faster. That's just sort of how it felt. Like it felt like I was kind of going as fast as I could, even though it's normally sort of a moderate hard effort. So After that, I had a easy swim, kind of just like a recovery swim to do, and I decided to do it after the run, which was just, I don't know, I guess I'll probably never do that again. There's probably a reason why you always want to swim first, but oh man, I just did not feel too good in the water. I swam for about 22, 25 minutes. And just feeling like totally gassed out. Like just like the motion of kicking in the water and just the whole motion, just making my body move was just an effort. I was going super slow. Yeah, 222 per 100, which is like about 40 seconds off sort of my normal like easy effort. And yeah, like I said, 3 days in a row last week started off with me just like barely getting the training in, feeling tired. And then on Thursday, I had a really challenging interval ride to do, 3 by 15 minute zone 4. So Wednesday and Thursday were sort of like back-to-back days with threshold efforts. First, those 4 by 1 mile on Wednesday on the run, kind of a threshold effort. And then boom, on Thursday, tired legs, time to try to hit zone 4 for 3 by 15 minutes. I really wasn't sure starting this ride. I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get through this one. Like, I really just wasn't feeling fresh, like I mentioned, just going into it feeling beat up already. I did manage to complete the ride, and I believe my power averages were pretty good. The middle one was low. First one was 292, so that's low end zone 4. The second one, 273, that's about 10 watts lower than I'm shooting for. And honestly, as I faded at the end of that one there, you can see my power just going boo. Like the last 5 minutes of that one, I thought I was done. However, I kind of thought of something that my coach had said to me before, when in regards to intervals. He said something to me along the lines once of like, if you're starting to wonder, if you're starting to struggle and you're not sure if you can do another one, that's usually a sign that you got another one left in you. Anyway, that sort of like was kicking around in my head, and I'm like, I don't want to just give up. I don't want to just not try, right? So even though it felt like I was done, I'm like, all right, let's go, 15 more minutes. And managed to do that one at 300. So surprised myself. That last one, was able to get on top of it, was able to have the best output of the session. But man, just finishing that ride, just my legs just felt like they're just like rocked. Like I felt like I had like extra blood in them. I know I said that before. It's like they just felt like heavy, sort of like painful, just sort of like the whole legs like just aching. And then that afternoon, I went and did a strength training session with my personal strength trainer. She was gentle on me. We did some foam rolling. We did some mobility. We did some strength training too. But, the whole week last week, despite on top of feeling that fatigue, I was sort of chasing this like knot around in my back too all last week. Like on Monday, it was my right side. By Wednesday, it was sort of worked around to my left side. On Thursday, it was like my left lower back. I just had this sort of tension that was just, like I said, it was like kind of chasing a squirrel around in my back last week. So super fatigued, chasing this pain in my back all week. Moving on to Friday's swim. This was another familiar swim set. 5 by 200, 4 by 200, 3 by 200, 2 by 200, and then 1 200 at the end there. The goal is to try to descend the pace on each set. So like the 5 by 200s are easy, the 4 by 200s are steady. I got through the easies. I got kind of through the steadies. Like the second set was where I started to really just realize I wasn't quite ready to swim any faster. And then I really couldn't speed up beyond that steady effort. So the workout, I completed the yardage, but the sort of the purpose of the set, the sort of idea of speeding up as you go, swimming them harder and harder as the workout progressed, I really wasn't able to do that. I tried mentally and my body was just like, nah. Or like I would get maybe like 10 or 12 strokes where I felt like, okay, boom, boom, all right, I'm pushing. And then it was like within 15 seconds, like that 10 strokes or so, the wheels would just sort of fall off, and I just kind of fall back into that slower output, that slower effort. So at that point, I was kind of like, man, I'm really not recovering very well. Looked ahead to the run that I had on my plan the next day, which was a hour 45 run at half marathon effort. I really felt that sounded a little intense. Like I wasn't sure if that was really something I was ready for. So I reached out to my coach, and it was a really easy conversation for him to just say, hey, like let's just take your run easy tomorrow, take it super slow, heart rate under control. He said that if my heart rate was elevated and I couldn't keep it down, to just bag it, and suggested that, I might just need to rest. So I think that was a good call. I went out and tackled the run with a sort of, let's do this nice and easy mentality, and that worked out pretty well. I was about 30 seconds slower per mile on average, maybe about 25 seconds per mile slower than my usual, and my heart rate was nice and low. I kept it at 143, which is about 6 BPM below my zone 2, so kind of a zone 1 90-minute easy run. Just getting that 10 miles of volume under my belt, and there wasn't a single moment on that run that I felt like I should be running at a harder effort. I really needed to take that one easy. After that run, got into yoga, felt pretty good afterwards, and ultimately I felt like I was prepared to do the huge brick workout the next day. I had an opportunity this week to do the ride on the road on Saturday with some friends that are training, but I ultimately decided that I wanted like that extra day of recovery. I was just feeling so smashed from the last huge brick workout on Sunday that even if just getting one more night of sleep, one more day of separation between that huge ride and the next huge ride, I thought would work out well for me. So ended up deciding to do the ride by myself here on the trainer. Also decided to sleep in a little bit. I think traditionally it's a great idea if you have a 5-hour bike ride to do, try to get started as early as possible, right? Like 5:30, 6 in the morning. That way you're done, by the time noon rolls around. I, however, elected to sleep a little extra. I decided, let me just try to get, as much recovery as possible before this ride. So I slept about 9.5 hours, slept until about 7:30. Didn't really get started on the bike until 9, which meant that I wasn't really finishing with the ride until about 2:30. And then I had a half-hour run off the bike. So just talk about how this long trainer ride went. I am pleasantly surprised with how I was able to maintain my power output across this 5-hour ride. I had a main set, so there were some intervals here. It was basically 6 by 20 minute at low zone 3 at low cadence, and then 20 minutes in zone 2 at a normal cadence for recovery. So that's 4 hours of intervals, 6 by 40 minutes, so almost the entire bike ride was consumed by these intervals. So it's like 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off, 20 minutes on, 20 minutes off, and repeat. I was able to pace myself in a way that I was able to get to that last interval at the 4-hour mark and still average about 250 watts for that last 20-minute zone 3 effort. I think all of them were around 245, 250, so right at the low end of my zone 3. And then I was able to maintain on that last 20-minute zone 2. I was able to stick in my zone 2 as well at 193 watts. So, I also wanted to take a note here to reflect. I did a 5-hour training ride way back in January. And yesterday's ride compared to that other 5-hour ride is such a huge difference. Like in January, I was pretty much cooked at the 3-hour mark. I spent the last hour of that ride in January with my heart rate and power sort of inverted, meaning that my power number was lower than my heart rate number. really the wheels had fallen off at that, that 3.5 hour mark. And the last hour of that ride in January was just like soft pedaling and just like I could not get the power back at all. Compared to yesterday's ride, yeah, it was tough. Yeah, mentally it was 5 hours on the trainer is always going to be rough, but I still had the ability to put out that zone 2 power 4 hours and 40 minutes into the ride. I didn't actually blow up at all, and I was able to run off of that ride pretty decently. I really didn't push it. My easy pace range is slow and is 8:15, and I came in at 8:14. So like really just like went sort of as easy as possible to sort of technically hit that easy pace. And boy, I was glad to be done at 3 o'clock. So I think that was probably the hardest training week I've had so far. Just day after day of just feeling beat up, but getting the training done. Really, really proud of that. On to this week. Let's see what we have going on. So today I had an easy swim and an easy run. I knocked those both out this morning. Feeling pretty beat up, pretty tired from yesterday's ride and run, but I'm kind of getting used to it. Tomorrow I have a pretty intense day of training. I'm going to touch base with my coach about it. I almost want to just take tomorrow off, to be completely honest. Like, got this open water swim here for an hour 15, and then a 90-minute interval ride, and then an hour interval run, all crammed into tomorrow. I am going to touch base with my coach today and just double check on that one, make sure that that's, as intended, and then also maybe discuss taking some time to rest instead, because, I think things are going well. I think I got a lot of good training in the last few weeks. I'm not looking to sort of push it any further necessarily. I want to just absorb this training that I have completed. On Wednesday, I have the pace change 125s. I will do better on that swim than last time. I'm like hell-bent on tackling that workout on Wednesday in the pool and getting back to some of my normal paces. On Thursday and Friday, I've got some biking and running to do. It looks like it's all easy. So Thursday, hour 15 easy ride, 45-minute easy run. Friday, hour easy ride, hour easy run. That sounds pretty good, Thursday and Friday. Saturday, I've got another hour 45, says half marathon pace. I'm going to touch base with my coach about that again and see if that might turn into some intervals. And then Sunday, I have a 3-hour interval ride, low zone 3, nice and steady, only 3 hours, oh my gosh, and then a 10K transition run. So, I am really happy to have gotten through last week's training. The last few weeks have been really challenging, but here I am, ready to do my best for the next few weeks. I'm optimistic that I'm going to get to the start line of this race much more prepared mentally and physically than I was last time when I did Ironman Florida in 2022. Some other things to note really quickly. I'm going to be seeing my nutritionist today. I haven't really had an appointment with her in more than a year and a half. I'm going to get a body scan, see what like my body fat percentages and muscle mass looks like. So that way I can compare to how those numbers looked when I was getting ready for Ironman Florida. So I'll have an update on how that went during next week's video. And next week will be 3 weeks out. Really looking forward to this. We're going to be talking about tapering soon. Thank you so much for checking this out. As usual, if you have anything to add or comment or question about the training that I'm doing or anything that I'm talking about in these videos, please leave a comment and let me know. And I really do hope that there's something here that might be helpful to you. If there's anything in these videos that you find is helpful for you, I'd love to hear about that as well. You can always reach me in the comments. So take care, have a good rest of your week, and I'll be back next Monday with an update on everything. Take care.